I'm here with Chris of Teeth to talk about a biblical worship of violence out May 5th on Nuclear Blast. Let me first start off by saying, what an incredible title for a release. Where
Thanks,
did
man.
that inspiration come from to put together such an outstanding title?
I mean, dude, we were just thinking about what we could name this thing, and we had the collection of songs pretty much dialed and locked and loaded. And Blake and I sort of made a document that was it was like in a notepad. And it was a bunch of different names that we had, and we were trying to feel out like what made the most sense given how the record sounds. And yeah, we just kind of landed on that. That was like an amalgamation of a bunch of different ideas that we had. Um, and it just felt cool. It felt like aggressive. It felt like it represented the music. And that's where we landed.
So let's go back a little bit. What was the spark that gave life to Teeth? For those watching this interview, for those not super familiar with the band, how did it all get started?
Well, so I mean, Blake and I have known each other since we were, oh, dude, like 18 or 19. We've known each other for years, man. And we've both toured in different bands, but we've toured together in those bands. Um, and over time, like we just, we've been really good friends for a long time. And then eventually we got to a point where it was like, why aren't we playing music together, dude? We get along so well, and we go so far back that it just felt like it made sense. So I was at the time I was living in Fort Erie, which is just over the border from Buffalo. I was just bored out of my mind, dude. I wasn't doing anything musically. I had a bunch of like heavy guitar stuff that I had sort of shelved. Um, so I sent a few ideas to Blake, and Blake was like, dude, this would be sick if we just recorded stuff over this for fun. Uh, so we did. Yeah, he came over, he tracked some demos. And yeah, we just got really stoked on it. I think those initial demos, those were Destroyer and Filth, which were the first songs that we released. And yeah, it just felt like it made sense, dude. It felt like such a cool creative outlet for us. And it felt very natural, and the song sort of just came out very organically. So I think we're both like pretty pissed dudes. Or at the time, we were going through a lot of like personal stuff. So I think we needed an outlet, and it made sense to do it together because we were best friends and we were hanging out anyway. So that's kind of how it started, man. It was really genuinely just a passion project.
And if
Where
people didn't know you guys were pissed, all they had to do is press play on this EP and they'll find out
yeah,
immediately because, I mean, it doesn't really leave any room to the imagination as far as how you guys are feeling because the EP just kind of carries its heart on its sleeve, if you will. And that kind of takes me to my next question because when I was listening to it and really enjoying the aggression that it has and all the intensity and all the nuances that you guys put into it, at the end of the experience, I was like, okay, if I'm trying to describe this to a friend, what do I call it? Like, how do I categorize it? Like, because it's, I know a lot of artists don't want to put their music or their sound under one umbrella, but it's almost inevitable that somebody will. So I'm going to give you a chance for you to do it. How would you categorize Teeth and the sound?
oh, dude, it's tough, man. Like you said, it's like hard to put a name on it or like brand it as something. But I mean, Blake and I both come from like metal and hardcore scenes. I feel like it's a combination of those two things. So I guess in the truest sense, it's I guess it would be metalcore. I know that's a pretty like touch and go, like that's a pretty divisive label. And I feel like a lot of bands fit into that, kind of fall under that metalcore umbrella these days, and that could mean a lot of different things. But I do think it's just like our influences are mostly hardcore bands and metal bands. And when I think of those things combined, I think of bands like, Converge. We're huge fans of Nails,
Yeah.
like bands like that, like Dillinger Escape Plan. Um, so I mean, like our influences are pretty diverse in the heavy music space, but yeah, I guess like hardcore, metalcore, I don't know, like something in there. There's definitely like elements of like noise and sort of weirder stuff. Like we both grew up listening to bands like Botch, who are kind of spazzy and like crazy and all over the place, and bands like Heavy Heavy Low Low, and um, yeah. So it's I feel like I don't think we're reinventing the wheel, but I think that it's like maybe it's kind of a unique combination of like all of our separate influences. I would guess I would call it metalcore or hardcore.
Or one, just core.
Something, yeah,
Just
just like
core kids at
angry.
heart.
Yeah, just pissed off.
Uh, you mentioned those first couple of songs that you guys worked on. How was the process from that point on until you reach the final results of this EP? Was it an organic process, or did you guys have a vision for, okay, we got these two, but this is what we need now in order to complete the journey?
Yeah, so I mean, it was pretty organic, dude. The way that Blake and I work is we sort of just get in a room together and we just call it a hangout and we just kick it. I record a lot of stuff at home. So we had sort of had, oh dude, I don't even know, man. We probably had like 15, 20 songs that were kind of generally mapped out. Whether it was like a verse and a chorus, we don't really have choruses in our
I'm gonna say
song.
there's of course.
It's just like it's just crazy all the way through. But we had pieces that were sort of that needed to be put together. So the way that these kind of came together were like these were all the ones that happened the most organically. And when he and I sat down, it's also the stuff that he had ideas for first. So yeah, I mean, there's still a lot in the tank, dude. We have so much material like ready to go. But yeah, these were the ones that sort of felt like they made the most sense at that point in time, and they kind of felt like a snapshot of what we were into and what we were going through at that point. And then when we kind of put them all together, because we had recorded demos for some other songs, but when we had put the five together, they just felt right. Like they felt like there was enough diversity, like with like the end of Eyes Horns Mouth is like super sludgy, and then like Pig Virus is like way more thrash metal, like super fast, and they felt like there was sort of this like ebb and flow and they made sense together. So yeah, it's sort of just they sort of just fit.
Is that organic vibe? Because I felt like I was listening to an album that it was just you guys going into the studio, press and record, and whatever comes out is what's going to end up being on this EP. It had that natural vibe, not overly produced
Yeah,
style approach. Is this going to be part of your DNA going forward?
I think so, dude. Yeah, man. I mean, that's always been our thing. Like when we started the band, again, like it was just this organic thing that happened. Blake and I were friends. We wanted to make music. Dude, like the sole purpose was to make people uncomfortable. We just wanted to make music that felt uncomfortable and confrontational. And I keep saying it, but like sounded pissed. We wanted to make some like super heavy pissed off sounding stuff. And I think that part of that comes from us having an aversion to sort of like outside tweaking and like producers, and we don't want it to feel too like methodical or mechanical. Not that there's anything wrong with that, dude. There's a lot of bands that work with producers and like pick through their songs with like a fine tooth comb. But I think what like makes us us is that it's sort of like Keith is very I don't know the word, like impulsive. Like we want it to feel very immediate and abrupt and intense and like in your face. And I think overthinking it rounds and like sort of like softens the edges. So we're definitely going to try to not do that because right now, sorry, my alarm for this interview just went up. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that's pretty much our approach, dude. Is like throw a bunch of shit at the wall,
Thanks.
and then sort of like organize it in a way that feels cool to us, and then like just send it out and like let the world hear that and not think about it too much.
Now, when it comes to the guitars, did you have the same approach, or was there certain things that in the back of your mind, like this is the right opportunity for me to try these things that I've perhaps never had a chance to try before?
I mean, a little bit of both, man, because I've always been in bands that were again, like a little bit more produced, a little bit, like we had more deliberate song structure and just generally we're like a little bit softer. Not that they were. I've always been in like sort of metal adjacent bands, but they were definitely a little bit more like palatable and less abrasive.
Radio
So
friendly.
like,
Radio friendly.
yeah. So for this band, like if anything, it was just how many pedals can I turn on for a part and like fuck it up and make it sound crazy, or like how low can we tune stuff, or how fast can we play shit. Like there's that song, like the song on the EP Pig Virus, there's this like blast beat part in the middle of that that's like so fast, dude. It's like like it's like unplayably fast. At least for someone like me, man. I'm not like a thrash shredder guy. And like when we recorded that, like for me, it was like sort of a like an exercise in letting go of perfection and wanting things to be super tight and super dialed and like whatever. And it's floppy on purpose. Like it sounds gross. And the dude who we recorded with, Davis, he's a good friend of ours, and he played drums on the record. Him and I had like we had a moment where it was like, do we try to nail this and like make it feel tight and like super like, you know, on the grid and like super, yeah, just super mechanical and super tight. But we ended up just like being sloppy about it. And I think that was like my approach to a lot of the guitars, where it's like, I don't, you know, not sloppy necessarily, but just trying to make it feel organic again, like, you know, where it's like there's not too much thought going into it. So that was really what I wanted to do, man. I just wanted it to all feel like menacing and vicious and crazy sounding, and like we tweaked guitar tones and made them, dude, like otherwise, like in any other band, that some of the guitar tones would be entirely unusable. So that's like that was my goal for this. Like, how can I do the craziest shit on this record?
So when you look at that aspect of the record, does this EP and now the band in general, do they help redefine who you are as a guitar player, considering what you were doing before and what the opportunity that you have to do this kind of stuff now?
I think so, dude, because like yeah, man, I grew up like I'm such a like a meat and potatoes guitar player. Like I am by no means like a great guitarist. Like I'm not a shredder dude. Like that's never been my cup of tea, man. I've always been like a right hand, like Hetfield is my guy guitar player. You know, where it's just like it's just all riffs. But I think yeah, man, I think with Teeth, it's helped me sort of like lay back a little bit and like let it's given me like a place to experiment with guitar stuff that I wouldn't have otherwise had in other bands. Because again, it was very like not, I don't want to say like formulaic sounds shitty, but the other bands were like in a way formulaic, where there was a set goal and we needed to like achieve a certain sound. Whereas Teeth is like very, it's a lot more experimental. So if anything, it's like opened me up to that, where it's like now I just feel so much more comfortable. Like that example I just gave you with pig virus, it's like I was like, fuck it, dude, like let it be gross, man. Like it doesn't
Let it
need to
rip.
be, yeah, just let it breathe and like be its own thing. And there's like a time and a place for you know, for like being dialed. But you know, with Teeth, there's like this cool little like in between spot where I can nudge things out of my comfort zone, which is cool. So yeah, it's been great for that, man. It gives me a lot of like weird shit to do.
So you mentioned the M word, metalcore, earlier on, and I have to ask you this because amongst the core kids, it always comes down to a heavy breakdown. Is there such a thing as too many breakdowns?
I mean, dude, I guess it all depends on who you ask. I mean, if you listen to this record, there's like two or three per song, and
That's why
like
I'm
it depends.
asking.
Yeah,
Because I feel like you guys with this album said there's no such thing as too many. But I figured I would
nah,
put
man.
the question to you anyways.
And like, and I think we our thing too is like we try to be like creative with breakdowns, like with what again, like what it also just depends on what you consider a breakdown. Like the end of Drip is like it's just noise, dude. There's like it's not chugs or anything. There's no like double kick or like whatever. But like I think again, like our approach is to make as many like uncomfortable, in your face, confrontational moments as possible in the song. And if that means like if that's a breakdown and that's like how that works and that's how like Blake's vocal fits in the song, then like we just go for it, dude. Um, yeah, dude, if the whole song was a breakdown, we'd fucking do it. You know, I mean, we write songs that are like a minute 50 seconds too. So I don't
I
think we're
definitely
following any
could pull it
rules.
off because just like one song, one whole breakdown in the whole song. I mean, I think if somebody can pull it off, it's definitely you guys.
Yeah, we might just do it. That might be like the next. That might be the next challenge to see if we can make it a fun, like a cool song that's just progressively more like breakdowny as it gets through.
I think that's a genius idea. The core kids would love that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite breakdown on this record?
Oh man. I don't know, dude. Like the end of The End of Weed Are Young is so fun because growing up being a huge fan of Pantera and like Dime and like the way that they approach heavy music. Um, there's a couple moments on this record that are like kind of Pantera-esque, which I think is cool. And like that was like fun for me to explore that. So like yeah, maybe the end of Weed Are Young is pretty, it's just pretty gnarly, dude. And then also like sonically the end of Eyes Horns Mouth. Because we recorded it and it sounded so sludgy and so gross, and we recorded it with like 5150s and stuff through like this wall of cabs and like pedals turned on, and it was just like everything was completely dimed. But then we sent it out to mix. This dude Lance Prince, who's like a good friend of ours now, and he's done a bunch of really cool bands. But he ran it through like a bunch of other pedals too. So he took the stems and made them even crazier and like ran it through for any like guitar nerds that are watching. If there's any guitar people that are checking this out, like he ran it through like I think it was a Swollen Pickle, which is just like a disgusting fuzz pedal. So to have guitars tuned in like drop A through fuzzes, through super high gain amps, and like it's just such a ridiculous thing to do. And then there's like a pitched down like an octave below it. So there's all these like crazy things going on at the end of that song that like turn it into this like big wall of like that like crazy chuggy, like the big slowdown at the end of Ice One's Mouth. So that's like one of my favorites too, because it's so sonically assaulting when you hear it for the first time. It's like, it sounds crazy, dude. The end of that song sounds nuts. So
You guys outside of this EP, you guys been on the road with Tala. How was that tour run?
well, unfortunately, so that was actually supposed to start yesterday, and thanks to the amazing immigration and border services, that's no dice. We had to unfortunately bow out of that tour because we didn't get visas.
Really? I didn't know. I thought it had started like a week ago, so it was going to start now.
Yeah, it was supposed to start on May 4th was the first, the 4th or 5th. One of these days was like the day that it was supposed to start. They were starting on Bamboozle, and then we were supposed to jump on,
Okay.
and I believe it was Pennsylvania. Uh, but yeah, unfortunately, dude, like the man with like COVID, what COVID and like the pandemic did to the touring industry is crazy, man. And it like in a lot of different ways too, like all of the obvious ways, but then like immigration and work visas and like all that stuff, dude. Like bands to cross the border, man, and tour, it's like so expensive, and there's all these unforeseen delays and like unexpected yeah, just unexpected stuff that comes up. So yeah, we were like working, we were on the tour and we are supposed to be doing it, and we got slapped with like crazy premium processing for visa fees, and then it was like
That's
we
great.
don't even know if you're going to get the visas in time, so it's like all this money, and then you don't know if you're even going to get them. We could show up at the border and they could turn us around and be like, your paperwork's not here. So unfortunately we had to bow out of that one, but we will be back in the States. We'll be in the States soon. We're
So
working on.
you guys have any plans to fill in that time now? Like maybe not right now, but is there any plans to even do some shows in Toronto? Like, do you guys have
For
anything on
sure.
the agenda?
Yeah, so I don't know that we're going to do anything during those specific dates, but we do have some stuff that we're going to announce soon around here in Canada, and then we're going to try to get over to Europe soon, because there's a little less barriers when it gets to getting over there, so it's not as difficult. And yeah, later this year we'll be in the States. It's like we're on Nuclear Blast, which is a U.S. label, and they've been really helpful. With us getting that stuff figured out. So yeah, it's a bummer, man. Like we were excited to be on that tour, and we were supposed to be on another tour before this, and same thing. It was like a visa issue. So yeah, it's just crazy wait times, man. Crazy wait times, and then like with those comes like you have to pay. It's like $4 or $5 to get a premium
Yeah.
processed for a band.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, these days bands before they even play a single song on a tour, they're already down like 10, 20 grand
Oh,
easy.
dude,
When you look at rentals of buses, merch, like you have to buy the merch up front. It's crazy.
it's crazy, man. That's exactly it, dude. It's like, and then you have to look at it, and it's like, can we afford to drop, yeah, like $10,000 to get to it? Because the way that it works with visa stuff is like they send your paperwork to the border as well. You have to like get to the port of entry. So then you show up, and like some visa guy is pissed because he doesn't like his job or whatever, and he's like, and then you got to go through that whole process, and they can still determine that you're not allowed over. But like for us, it was like, do we spend $10,000? Like, is it something we can do to potentially get to a border and have someone say that our paperwork's not there or that we're not approved yet? It would be such a crazy risk, dude. And then it would like, I mean, dude, that would impede our ability to do anything for the rest of the year. That would just put us so far in the hole before we even started. So yeah, man, it's crazy, crazy time. So we're figuring it out. We got other stuff coming.
Well, you don't need a visa to play in Toronto. I can tell you that much.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's our home, dude. So we'll be doing some stuff in Canada, and we'll be announcing that soon.
Oh, perfect, perfect. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there to see you guys play. And
Yeah,
let
man.
me ask you this: the EP comes out, but obviously you already released some singles. There's already some videos out there. How's the fan reception been so far?
Dude, great, man. I mean, like our fans are pretty diehard. Like we're still a small band, and we're, I still think of us as like a baby band. We've been around for a couple years now, but a lot of that's been through COVID, and we've just released singles, and we haven't been able to tour because of the pandemic and stuff. So, I still think of us as like a new band, even though we're all also old as fucking dirt. We're just all beat up,
You're
but
vintage.
yeah, we're new, man. But it's like it's crazy how many people have like grabbed onto the T thing, and I mean the fans that we have are so, dude, they're like so hardcore, man. Like every time we release something, it's like a 10x increase in how stoked people are. So I mean the record comes out tomorrow. So dude, today is just me. I'm just trying to like keep my cool and like yeah, we've been sitting on this thing for a minute, so I'm excited, and I just really want to see, how people receive it. You know what I mean? It's been a while, so.
I got one last question for you. Everything about this band, everything about this release has been very organic. That's kind of like the word that I take away from our conversation. Are you going to
Mhm.
take the next steps in the same fashion, or do you already have in your mind when you want a full length record to hit? Like how are you outlining the roadmap for Teeth going forward beyond the CP?
I mean, dude, we're the kind of band we're always like one step ahead. Like we're big on work, dude. Like we just want to keep working. I mean, we've had this record in the bag for a minute now. It's just been a matter of like when it's going to come out. And like as you know, by the time you release a record, you've usually been sitting on it for like about a year
Yeah.
between like recording and then mixing and revisions and masters and getting it to the label and figuring out a release date and making videos and all that shit. So, I mean, dude, we've been working on new stuff for a year now. So there's already new stuff in the bag. So, I mean, again, like I think it's like a cross section. I think it'll be an organic process, but we're definitely like thinking 10 steps ahead where it's like, well, what's the next thing? Like we're releasing the record tomorrow, and Blake and I are already talking about, what we want to do next and like what's going to happen later this year. And if, who knows, man, maybe we do like a single, we have a bunch of songs that we're working on. We would love to do a full length. Um, it's also about like feeling out, like what people, not that it like affects, we're not doing anything like based on what we think fans or what like music fans in general want, but like I'm also trying to think in 2023, dude, like uh, attention spans are so short. You know what I mean? It's like, do we do a full length? Do we do two EPs back to back? I don't know, man. Like, do we? It's like hard to figure it out because I also want, like, I want people to be able to digest the music in a way that makes sense. And like, I know sometimes, especially with bands like us, dude, like I don't know, man. Like maybe a full length is like too dense. Like we're not like an easy listening band. It's not like a fucking John Mayer record. So like I don't know. Like I'm curious if people hear this EP and it's like that's the perfect amount of songs that we like to hear Teeth release, and maybe we just do more EPs and more of them. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just
Yeah, yeah.
more music more frequently.
I mean, your body's definitely not a wonderland, but I, I think I think one thing that would work really well, just my humble opinion, if you're going to release two EPs, is you put the two EPs out, and then at the end of that cycle, you release a full length record, if you will, with
Yeah.
both EPs together, and you throw in two new songs in there to give fans a little bit of an extra. Some bands have done that. Of Mice and Men did that last year.
Yeah.
It works really well because, like you said, a lot of fans have a short attention span these days. And also true, it's not like sitting through 45, 50 minutes of Teeth might be super grinding.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I might
the
like
EP
wreck your
is
day.
easy. The EP is easy to get to enjoy it and really appreciate it. But like you said, it's not John Mayer. So
No,
you
not
gotta
at
think
all.
about that as well.
Yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, that's a great idea. Like that, and we're also like we're big on I don't know, we're big on like trying to deliver stuff in a creative way, or like again, like we're not like reinventing the wheel, but even our first show was a Devil's Night pop-up show in a fucking skate park alley. You know what I mean? Like we like to like make people work for stuff a little bit. And I'm big on, when bands sort of create this like cool. I grew up listening to Slipknot, dude, and I remember going to like slipknot1.com. And like you had to like click around and find stuff, and it was like this like cool Easter egg hunt. And like I kind of like that, man. And so that I default to really being interested in figuring out like more unique or like unconventional ways for us to release music or like art or videos or whatever. So yeah, man, that's definitely something that would make sense for us. So I guess we'll see what happens.
All right, Chris, man, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it talking to you about the band, about the music. New EP comes out on Nuclear Blast on May 5th. A Biblical Worship of Violence. What a name. Absolutely loved it. Thank you very much once again for your time, and I hope to see you guys perform in Toronto very soon.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much, dude.
Take care. All the best.
Yeah. Cheers.